Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his Son. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Mighty One is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of Yahuwah. And we're starting again from Deuteronomy 28, and this is part 5. We left off with the mothers eating their children. Can you get any lower than that? Think about it. She carried this child for 9 months. Then the child came out through the matrix between her legs. She held this child, breastfed this child, saw how dependent this small child was upon her. But in the siege, in the straightness, she had this big idea. Let's boil and eat this child. Now, it's not just cut and dry like that, brothers and sisters. Listen, there must be preparation for the meat, correct? She must have gutted the child, taken out the organs. Maybe they prepared it separate, threw it away. We don't know. Then you have to wash the meat, season the meat, then boil the meat, make a broth, a stew. Then you sit down at the table. Well, maybe they didn't sit at a table. They probably hid in a room somewhere and carried out these atrocities. And eat this meat knowing that it is the fruit that came from your womb. You don't get any lower than that. Let's begin. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54 to 56. Verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Verse 55. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. Verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and toward her daughter. You see, it uses the word tender, delicate. These are people who were of the upper class. They never knew lack or want or suffering. That's what that means, tender, delicate. So in the siege, because they were so used to having, when they did not have, they decided to eat the fruits that came from their loins. The passage says, when his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. It's not speaking on the terms of him hating his brother here in America or shooting him down in the streets. That is not the context of what this passage is trying to convey to you. What is it trying to convey? Look at his eye. His eye shall be evil towards his brother, because he doesn't see you as his brother. He doesn't see you as his wife. He doesn't see you as his children. He sees you as chicken. The passage states that he's going to leave his family. He didn't leave them because he was a rolling stone or he wanted to go sleep with another woman. The context shows that you're in the siege, in the straitness. There's no food. You've been in it for years. He left them because he stole one of the children and did not want to share them with the rest of the family. Her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and toward her daughter. It's her turn. The husband's gone. He's already got one of the children. He's partaking of the meat in some back room someplace. Now she's looking evil towards her children, her daughter. She's ready to take her, gut her, prepare her, boil her, and eat her in the back room. Verse 57. And towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and towards her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness. Secretly, brothers and sisters, in the back room, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. This is why this has happened. Verse 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book. We didn't observe to do all the law, all of the words of the law that are written in this book. We dismissed it. Now we're suffering the penalty, that thou mayest fear his glorious and fearful name. We did not fear his name, we took it in vain. Yahuwah, thy mighty one. Verse 59. Then Yahuwah will make the plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even, indeed, for a surety, great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and long continuance. Verse 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61. Listen to this. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will Yahuwah bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. HIV, AIDS. Look who tops the list. In the homosexual category, Black African American male-to-male sexual contact. Why are we always above everyone else? This is the curse. Some of them got it while they were in jail, others because they were promiscuous with other men. Come down to the number that says 4008. Black African American women, heterosexual contact. Where did the woman get it from? One of the guys on the top. Whether he be a gay, I forgot what they call him, QBT or something like that, whether he's one of those groups or whether he's a homo thug. The homo thugs are the ones that are in jail or have been to jail and have partaken of the forbidden fruit. He comes home and passes it on to his woman or his wife. Anytime you deal with promiscuousness, this is the outcome. Why do you think the Father put so many laws surrounding this behavior? So you would be safe. A homo would never be in the kingdom. You know that? He would be killed. A person with promiscuous behavior would be stoned to death. So you won't see AIDS in the kingdom. Come down to 1,717 black African American men heterosexual contact. These are men who contracted it from their wife or their girlfriend. This is for all, men and women. You can't take these chances with your genitalia. You're playing Russian roulette out there. Also, every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, they're going to overtake you. Rates of new HIV diagnosis per 100,000 by race and ethnicity, and this is 2016. Look at our number. We're at the top of every chart when it comes to sickness and disease. Statistics. 33% of diagnoses of HIV in Massachusetts 2000 to 2002 were African Americans. That's 1/3 of all of the diagnoses. We're only 13% of the population, but 1/3 of the diagnosis of HIV in Massachusetts. Do you see that? African Americans in Massachusetts impacted by HIV/AIDS at 10 times the level of white Americans. Do you understand that? 10 times. African American women are 38 times more likely than white women to contract the disease. Why is that? We just went through the scenario. The brothers are coming from jail. They're homo thugs. They've partaken of the forbidden fruit. They've contracted this disease. They don't know nothing about it. Then we come home and we give it to our women. Our women are promiscuous. They go out and they give it to another man. And the cycle just goes around and around in circles. 1 in 4 of all Massachusetts cases are women. 1/2 are African American women. African American women are more at risk for heart disease than any major ethnic group in the U.S. Ladies, you are at the top of the chart. They have a higher incidence of diabetes and hypertension. They are underrepresented in major research trials. They are up to 60% less likely to receive aggressive diagnostic testing. Why is the African American woman so high? So much at risk? Because roles have been reversed. She was never designed to do what she does here today. She takes on the children. She's a single mother. She may have 2, 3, who knows how many in the household. Even if you have 1, that's a big job. Then she has to go to work 8 to 10 hours per day. Because she's looking for a better living environment for her children, she's going to school also to learn and to earn her degree. No one can handle that. This is why she's more at risk. And we want to stay here. We want to live like this. They told us in order for you to make it in their society, you have to kill yourself. They're not lying to you. The heart of the matter. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for women and men, regardless of race and ethnicity. 82.6 million American adults have heart disease. That's almost 1/3 of the whole population. Now look who's at the top of the chart. African American females, 47.3%. African American males, 44.8%. We can forget the rest. We're only focused on us. We're at the top of all of the charts for diseases. National diabetes death rate by race and ethnicity. Look at black people again. The only ones who are close to us are the American Indians. Diabetes. Everyone knows someone who has type 1 or type 2. I don't know. It's something that they're doing here in this country that everyone is sick. Amputations in people with diabetes. 3 ethnic groups. Look at you, again, at the top of the chart, as usual. Reported tuberculosis cases by origin and race, ethnicity, the United States, 2015. Look at the first chart on your left, U.S.-born persons. Look at us in the pink, 36%. The only ones close to us are the white folks. Remember, when we're 1/3 of the population and 36% of the tuberculosis cases. Okay, let's come out of America. Let's go to foreign-born persons. All right, to your right. Look at black African American people. I don't know why they call it African American people, but let's just deal with what they got here. If you're outside of the United States, your risk for having TB is 13%. Something's wrong with America. You should be doing everything in your power to try to get out of this place. 1 in 6 African Americans have signs of kidney disease. While African Americans made up just 13% of the U.S. population in 2009, they accounted for 32% of new cases of kidney failure. That's why our people are on dialysis. Do you know where this comes from, brothers and sisters? The high blood pressure medicine that they're giving us. High blood pressure, diabetes, stroke. African Americans are more likely to die at early ages from all causes. Did you hear me? That's us in the purple. Or maroon, whatever color that is. Are you starting to get this? Are you seeing that it's you? The Father says, all these sicknesses, every plague, the things that are not even written in the book, they didn't know about this. They're going to come upon you. The ones in Egypt and this new stuff that we got here in America. Verse 62. And ye shall be left few in number. Whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of Yahweh thy mighty one. Verse 63. And it shall come to pass that as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so Yahweh will rejoice over you to destroy you and bring you to nothing. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Here's your eviction notice. With all of the things that happened to us, we still didn't turn back to him. We got evicted. Look what happens next. Verse 64. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods. The two major ones that have come up is Jesus and Allah, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Our forefathers never heard of Jesus or Allah. They didn't exist. These are the new gods. Now, who did he scatter amongst all the people of the earth? We're not talking about migration. See, the Jews migrated into all of the different places. We were scattered. How were we scattered? In ships. We're getting to that. We're almost there. Who have we been serving for 400 years? Jesus and Allah. Verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahuwah shall give thee there a trembling of heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. That's why our sister has resorted to this. That smoke that comes from this crack pipe, it calms the demon. The trembling heart, the failing of eyes, the sorrow of mind, the trauma that we have endured for these 400 years. This is how she copes with it. Our people are coping with this trauma with drugs, alcohol, even sex, trying to fill the emptiness that is within them. We are away from our Father. That emptiness that is in your soul can only be filled by Yahuwah. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. You should read this book. Don't even read the book. Let me make it simple for you. Go online, type in Dr. Joy DeGruy, and look at some of her lectures on YouTube. She's going to explain to you why you're the way you are, the why you carry yourself the way that you do today, because you have suffered trauma. She also explains why the Europeans are so disconnected from this. They have a guilt complex, cognitive dissonance. 13.2% of the U.S. population identifies as Black or African American. Of those, over 16% had a diagnosable mental illness in the past year. Most of us is just as crazy as a Besserbug. That is over 6.8 million people, more people than the populations of Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia combined. Well, now you see why we do the things that we do. You know, my wife and I, we play around all the time. And I tell her, girl, you just as crazy as you can be. And she said, honey, you're crazy also. Why is that, babe? You married me. It's good that we can laugh about that between me and her. But look at the overall population of our people. That's why they're smoking crack, drinking alcohol, trying to find something to fill that void. This is not going to change. You can protest, you can drink, you can smoke, you can pray to Jesus, pray to Allah. Have you noticed that we've been doing that for 400 years and nothing's happened? But I tell you this, if we all turn back to Yahweh and stop this mess, he's going to come and gather us. You won't have to go through this anymore. But as long as you're here in the United States of America, this is what you're going to get. So if you love this country, this is what you love. To have a trembling of heart, failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Did you know the Father has given us the power to free our minds, change our minds, repent? That's what all that means. You have to do it. Come out of this matrix that you've been living in. Return back to Yahweh. Learn and keep his laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. All of the ones that we can do. But we must prepare ourselves for the kingdom. We will be in our sovereign capacity. We would be a people again. Here, you're a byword. Here, you're a slave. Here, you are merchandise. And this is what scares the Europeans the most. This scares them more than you going out to protest, more than you creating a Black Panther party. There's nothing that you can do in this country that scares them more than this. Returning to Yahuwah. Taking back your heritage. Taking back your power. They know when this happens, their time is up. They've done everything in their power to keep you traumatized. And even though they've done this, you have still rose out of the ashes like the phoenix. Because you are a superhuman. Whites superhumanize blacks. Did you know this? This is a study that they've done. Let me read it for you. A superhumanization bias in whites' perceptions of blacks, published in the Journal of Social, Psychological, and Personality Science, examines the idea that black people have been historically dehumanized, from constitutional denial of full legal personhood to enslavement. So they dehumanized you. They took away your personhood and they enslaved you. They taught you that you were nothing. Remember what the Bible just taught us. All of these things shall come upon you until you be what? Destroyed. We are destroyed. Now, why would they dehumanize us? Because they see you as a superhuman. So they had to do something to lower your status. In the first test, researchers Kelly, Marie Hoffman, and Sophie Trowalter of the University of Virginia and Adam Waits of Northwestern University performed implicit association tests. White participants were asked to associate certain words to images of a person. It was found that white people were more likely to link words commonly associated with the supernatural, ghosts, paranormal, spirit, wizard, supernatural, magic, mystical, to pictures of black people, and more likely to link human words, person, individual, humanity, people, civilian, mankind, citizens, to pictures of white people. New York Magazine reported. These results remain consistent even as researchers varied the experiments in order to rule out the possibility of bias. What did they link you with? The supernatural. Why did they do that? Who are the most religious people on the planet? Who are the ones that pray, sing, make up all of these songs to serve our Father, pray, sing, jump around in the church talking about they're in the spirit? You. Who has a fully functional pineal gland that makes you able to relate to the spiritual realm? You do. They know it. Though they took you from being a person, an individual, a human, they associate you with the supernatural. You're far above them because your Father, Yahuwah, is associated with the supernatural. You are a superhuman. In the second test, to account for the possibility that the bias in test 1 occurred in part because of white human associations as opposed to black superhuman associations, the researchers used categorization tasks, again asking for participants to quickly associate a word with an image, this time with more groupings. Black human, black superhuman, black subhuman, white human, white superhuman, white subhuman, and asking participants to quickly sort words as belonging to a category based on the image of a face flashed on the screen. They found the same bias present as in study 1. What was that? That you are a superhuman. That's what they found. The third test was a bit more specific. In it, the participants were shown images of both a white person and a black person and were asked to choose which person they believed possessed a series of supernatural abilities. The questions included: 1. Which person is more likely to have superhuman skin that is thick enough that it can withstand the pain of burning hot coals? 2. Which person is more capable of using the supernatural powers to suppress hunger and thirst? 3. Which person is more capable of using supernatural powers to read a person's mind by touching the person's head? 4. Which person is more capable of surviving a fall from a plane without breaking a bone through the use of supernatural powers? 5. Which person has supernatural quickness that makes them capable of running faster than a fighting jet? 6. Which person has supernatural strength that makes them capable of lifting up a tank? Look what they said in the bottom. White people chose an image of a black person an overwhelming 63.5% of the time for everything except for the abilities to survive the plane crash and read minds. So they said all of these things apply to you. Number 6 applies to you. They look at you that you can lift a tank. Number 5 applies to you. You're so fast you can beat a fighter jet. We know that to be true. That's why they come to our schools scouting our children for track, for field, for football, basketball, all types of sports. Number 3, It applies to us, but they didn't choose it because they don't understand. In church, what do? We laid hands on the person's forehead, we prayed for them and prophesied to them. Number two, they said, applies to you. You use your supernatural powers to suppress hunger and thirst. They couldn't understand how you made it that long with what they were giving you. Number one applies to you. Your skin that you are in is able to withstand the heat. Listen to the summary. You, in their minds, are a superhuman. This is why they had to make you into a subhuman. They had to make themselves feel greater and more powerful than you and had to destroy you. Isn't that what the Bible says, right? These curses are going to come upon you until you're destroyed. And we are totally destroyed. We don't know anything. But we're doing these tests. Not we. They are doing these tests to find out why they think the way they do. And they think the way they do because you're a superhuman. They just told you that. Listen to this. If you go back to the mother continent, Africa, that's what they call it, right? Where the UV rays are at their highest. The plants, they have a process called photosynthesis, where the plant takes the sunlight, converts it into energy, makes the plant grow, and provides sustenance for the people. Look at you. Your melanin, when the UV rays, the sunlight, comes down on you, your body has a natural shade to protect you from these UV rays. Also, when the shade comes out, when you turn darker, your body is absorbing the sunlight, photosynthesis, just like those plants, and converting it into energy. Can the Europeans do that? No, they cannot. You are a superhuman. You are smarter. That's why they try to tell you that you're dumb. You are faster. We know all of the properties that they just explained to us before. You are a spiritual, a supernatural being. They can't claim any of these things. You are special. But with all of these special abilities, you are a superhuman only if you keep these laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. Then you are powerful. Because with all your special abilities, they still have you enslaved all around the world. But when you return back to Yahuwah, keep his commandments to the best of your ability, you will regain your power. Continue to part 6. Shalom.